Because when you want an acting job, it's not that you want to act. I mean, there's all kinds of things that go along with that. You want to be challenged. You want to feel connected to other creative people. You want community. You need money. There's so much around that. And I try really hard to be like, what aspect of that in this moment are you really looking for? And is there a way that you can give that to yourself in another capacity? And the answer is usually yes.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Grace Rex is an actor. I sat down with her in her home in Brooklyn to talk about the work.
Do you have a typical way to begin your private work with a script?
I guess I read it multiple times. I think I try to read it as an audience person, like not from the perspective of trying to unpack the character necessarily, but just from trying to understand what the story is, how the character fits into that, what purpose they serve for moving the story along and telling the story that the writer wants to tell. And then it really depends on what it is. Like sometimes you read something and you just kind of get it. Like it makes sense. Yeah. You feel like you can crawl inside of it right away.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel a little more distant from it, or it just doesn't quite click. I feel like I don't quite know what that person's perspective is or how they move through the world. And then in that case, I guess I would just spend a lot of time thinking about it. That's the biggest thing I do, I guess. Just think about things a lot.
Do you ever hit like a wall with like, I can't figure out how to get my arms around this?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I mean, what do you do?
Freak out.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I don't know. I mean, again, I guess it really depends on.
It's funny we're talking about this, but I mean, the director should be there to help you.
Yeah.
With that part.
Yeah,
I'm making it sound like you're all alone. I mean, you are alone in the beginning, but I'm starting to get the idea that, like, from actors, that you're kind of alone a lot, even though there's a director.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends on the director, too. Like, I think some directors establish a dynamic right away where having conversations about the character is part of their process. And that can be really inviting and wonderful. But again, that really depends, too. Like, sometimes I have this feeling like I don't want to talk about it. Like, I don't want to intellectualize it. I don't want to, like, knead through it and decide, what the emotional experience moment to moment is. I want to, like, play. Like, I want to get inside of it and just play. I guess if I did run into a wall, though, having a conversation would be helpful. And sometimes that's possible and sometimes it's not. I think with TV, oftentimes it's harder just because there's so little time. It feels kind of like this moving machine. Yeah. And it's like a spinning hamster wheel, and my job is to, like, leap on with the other hamsters and, like, pick up at the same pace.
That's a great analogy.
I mean, it depends on where you are with a show. Like, if you're doing a pilot or something and everybody's figuring it out together, they're figuring out the tone and the world of it, and you're able to infuse the character with a lot of who you are as a person because there's space for that, then, maybe it feels more exploratory and you can have conversations about who that person is and where they've been and how they feel and all that. But I think particularly with stuff like guest stars or which is most of my experience with TV, is like kind of coming into something that's really already established. It's so much of it is just about feeling the tone, feeling the rhythm of what it already is, sometimes already having seen some of it, and just kind of diving in and trying to be the cog in the wheel that I am and, like, help tell the story.
Give me an idea of how you gotten into all this.
I studied musical theater at Ball State University, and before that I was a dancer. I was a ballet dancer, and I loved to sing and I wanted to act, so I thought I would like do all those things simultaneously, which translated to musical theater. But I got into school and kind of quickly realized that I didn't like love a lot of musicals. I mean, I love musical. I think there's something really transcendent about what singing can do to text. It can kind of just catapult an emotional, you know, experience that sometimes words alone can't do. But I knew that I was never going to be like a Broadway star or something like that, which in my limited view as like an 18-year-old person in college, like that's what seemed was available. Yeah. So I knew I was going to be a chorus girl. Like I was a singer and I had kind of like a folky, lilty voice. Like I didn't have a big set of character pipes, which were the kind of parts that I played. So about halfway through, I started kind of leaning more into the acting side of things, which I really enjoyed. And then I got an agent when I was in college in Chicago, and I started going there and auditioning for things. And in Chicago, like a lot of the stuff that your agents send you out for is film and TV stuff, because the theater community is so tight-knit that it feels like it's more accessible through like word of mouth and going to general auditions, and like I would like crash equity calls and stuff like that. So the things that I was going out for were like film and TV things, and I got really into that and I enjoyed it so much. And I went through a breakup and I did a pilot, and those things kind of happened simultaneously. And my agents in Chicago, who are wonderful people, were like, "Fly, little birdie, you have no tether. You should go out there if you're going to do it. It would be good to do it now."
At this point, you probably have like a set thing you do for an audition. Is there a way you like pump yourself up for it? Or
Yes. It's not always the same. It really depends on how much time I have. Like last night, for instance, I got a self-tape request at 10 p.m.
Wow.
That was due today at 5.
That's insane, yeah.
And a pilot, hour-long drama. Didn't have time to read the script, to be totally honest. Like, I got about 15 pages in, and then I was like, well, I have 2 hours today to do this. I have to find a reader to come over and do it with me. I have to, like, make myself look like a human being.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to, like, glean what I can, and work on the lines as much as I can, but really just very quickly make some choices about who this person is. And I'm just going to make choices that feel instinctively like they work. Again, sometimes with an audition, like you get something and I just am like, I know what that is. I know who that is. It feels natural. It's just like something I can put on and like have a lot of fun with and kind of play. And sometimes I feel like I'm taking a stab in the dark, but I have done it enough, I think, that I trust myself to be like, we don't know what this is, but like I feel okay in this space of not quite knowing, and I'm just gonna do my best. Sometimes you have more time, and then you can really dig into it and get the words in your body, and that's nice. That feels like a luxury. I just think a lot. And I get the words in my head, but a lot of times unless it's really text heavy, it's like some like Aaron Sorkin thing or something. Like I spend so much more time just thinking about who they are, and the purpose they serve and what's happening in the scene and what emotionally needs to be accomplished in the scene. And that way, if I walk in and I feel really out of sorts or the energy's really weird, that somebody's really tired and doesn't really want to be there anymore, which I understand. I wouldn't want to watch 50 people do the same thing over and over again. Then like I'm grounded.
Yeah.
And then I can bend, you know. That helps a lot. That's really changed the way that I experience auditioning, which is just the most bizarre thing.
It really is.
It's like kind of acting, but it's not really acting. I'm glad it exists. Like, I wouldn't want people to only cast their friends, because then I'd only ever get like 3 jobs. You know, I'm glad that they're open and they're like, let's have all these folks. Give it a go. Like, I'm very appreciative that there's accessibility, but it is really frustrating. I'm sure if there was a better way to do it, somebody would have probably come up with it by now.
Are you good at gauging if you did good? Like, in other words, when you leave an audition,
Yeah.
are you ever like, wow, I really blew it, and then you get it, or the opposite?
Sometimes I feel like, wow, I really fit the specs of that. A lot of it's sort of topical. It's like I was the right age and I kind of look like what I feel like maybe they're looking for. And it just fits me, and I feel like I get it, and I could, hit it out of the park without having had a lot of preparation time. I have had experiences too where I was like, whoa, that was really bad. And then maybe I got it, or I got close to getting it or something. So, I mean, I would love to believe that I know what other people want, but I think that's just the control freak in me wanting to be able to like figure out the outcome of something. Most of the time I have no idea. And they don't always know. I mean, that's the thing too. They have no idea a lot of the times too. They're sort of waiting for people to come in and maybe give them what's in their head. Like, I've had that happen a lot where it feels personally like I spent so many hours preparing for this. I did my hair. I'm wearing concealer. I took a train. It was an hour long, and then I got here and I waited for 45 minutes, and then I went into the room and it was like so anticlimactic. But the truth is that like a lot of times the material is anticlimactic. Like, the thing you were asked to do was not that exciting, and that's not your fault. That's just what it was. It was like 5 lines on Law and Order or something.
Procedural.
And you want to like fill it with your entire being. You're like, I want to be seen, and that's not going to happen because nobody cares. You know what I mean? And then you leave and you're like, wow, that was not the experience that like I really needed to have in that moment, which was a moment of true expression.
And rapturous.
That was like exposition. That
Delivery.
happens a lot. I have to remind myself all the time, like, now just remember, like, we're gonna go there, and like it's just gonna happen. And even if I'm like the best office clerk in the whole world, the casting director does not have a responsibility to tell me like how great I was, or to even blink. She is probably going to be like, okay, great, thank you. I have to remind myself of that. And that doesn't mean you weren't great.
Right.
Like, you could have been really great and you might get the job.
Right.
But I think that kind of like circles back to that thing we were saying about whether you can gauge how well it went. Is you're having a totally different experience than the people who are watching you, who have like probably been there all day long. And even if you were really great, or even if you weren't great, like how they receive you in that moment, or how they respond is like, you just can't tell. I have no idea most of the time.
What if there was just like a hugger that was hired, sitting there smiling at you, and then it's over and they hug you and you leave? Then
that
people
would be so
then
nice.
other people can be like whatever they're worrying about the food and everything, but the hugger it's the job to be happy.
That
That would be good, right?
I would love that. I do, my comfort thing is, after a particularly difficult one or one that I worked really hard on, and then I'm like, all right, it's over. It's out it's not up to me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely go and like buy a chocolate macaroon, very specifically, and I sit
Just
down
one?
and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I kind of reward myself. That's how I reward myself, is with food. Just give yourself a little pat on the back.
Yeah.
Like, you did it.
Yeah.
I hug myself is what I'm saying, Peter.
I'm imagining that you get frustrated with comedy. I don't know why. Is that a weird thing to for someone to
That I
imagine?
get frustrated with comedy.
Yeah. I think you're ahead of most comedy.
Oh, boy. Well, that's a compliment.
Yeah, it is.
I'll take it.
Do you think you are?
No, I mean, no. I guess I'm no.
No, I'm right with it, Mr.
What?
Rinaldi.
No. I am trying to,
I'm imagining you make bold comedic choices. I've seen them.
I think people who like how I do what I do are likely to hire me. So maybe that's what I don't know, that's what they want from me. But I just make choices. I don't know how to talk about it. I don't think of them as being, like, the choices that I make as being, like, particularly subversive or different.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just have a certain sense of humor, and like my dad is really funny. He can be a total goofball, and my sister's really funny and my brother's really funny, and I think we all get together and we have, it's sort of a weird sense of humor maybe,
Mm-hmm.
and so, but I don't know how to talk about it because I don't know. I just do what I feel is right. And sometimes you can get into a situation where somebody is like, yeah, whatever, do what you want, like, just go with it, and that's really fun. But I think if somebody was like, that seems kind of weird, and I'm not everybody's cup of tea, some people don't want that.
Right.
That whatever I decide feels right or most interesting for me, and then they just don't hire me, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about, like, I'm fascinated with what actors need, like, on the set. Do you need a certain kind of environment, or do you thrive in a certain kind of environment as opposed to another kind of environment?
Yeah, I definitely like working with directors who are excited to be there. You'd think that's a given.
Right.
But it doesn't always feel like that. Or there's just a lot of, it's stressful. It's a stressful job. And sometimes I get a little annoyed when people talk about actors like they're like weird fairies or something, that like these mysterious beings that can't be pinned down. But as a result of being on some sets where I don't feel safe, and I know how that affects my work, I do feel like they have special needs. Like, maybe we have special needs. Like, we're just very vulnerable. Like, it's just so vulnerable. And your job is to be vulnerable and to be open, and it's one thing to be a crew person or something and to be treated really unfairly, or to have, an argument or something, and that's not okay. But you can also, like, be pissed and, like, put your little hat on and keep pushing your buttons all day and do your job. And when you're an actor, you can't do that. And if you ask somebody to compartmentalize how they're feeling in the moment so they can do a kind of performance that's like not on that level, then that can affect whether you're able to do your job or not. So I think I like being around directors who are just present and kind and have a perspective, like, we're not curing cancer, we're making a movie, even if it's a dramatic movie. And like, this should be fun. Like, I really believe it should be fun. And I think there's a way to get what you want and create an environment that's like passionate and focused without shitting on people. And that really bothers me. I feel like it's childish and kind of irresponsible. It makes it difficult and unpleasant for everybody. And I mean, I've been really fortunate. I've worked with mostly people who are wonderful and really excited about what they're doing, really interested in like having a positive and fruitful experience and being able to like be present for that. Yeah.
And what do you need from a director in the moment in your work? Like, what kind of approach works for you?
I guess I just need somebody to help me feel like we're in it together and that they trust me. And I think there are lots of ways that people do that. It kind of depends. Like, sometimes if I feel like I'm in a tough spot, it's great to be able to be like, hey, I just can't figure this out. Like, can we have a little conversation, or just to answer a question that I have. And then there are some directors who will completely leave you alone, which is also great sometimes. It's hard to, I don't know, it's like, I think it's just an essence thing. Like, you can just feel when you're interacting with somebody who is like excited and knows what they're doing. They know what their vision is, and they know how you fit into that, and they're able to like communicate what they need, or they're able to be like, let's just see what happens. But I think it's just a feeling that you get from somebody about whether or not they're available.
Let's talk about one scene in particular.
Oh my goodness, okay.
Now, one moment from Women Who Kill, which I love. I love Women Who Kill.
Oh, it's so
You know,
good,
Sheila
isn't it?
Van was on my show, and I didn't see this movie until recently. I'm talking about just the moment where you say, "Don't tell me." Now tell me. I think that's the exact line.
Try to stay calm.
God, what? Wait, don't tell me. Okay, tell me.
And it has this pause.
Yeah.
When you delivered that, I mean, like, there's an experience that goes on. I want to know now, like, how you manufactured this. Is that a combination of, like, you and Ingrid Jungermann figuring that out, or is it in the script, or is this just you deciding how to present that?
Oh shit, Peter, I can't remember.
Okay, we're done. We're done.
No. No, I think, well, I will say that, you know, that script is amazing. I mean, that script was perfect. So that takes, I mean, that takes all of the weight off of me. I mean, there's very little you have to do, and that's a great feeling to be like, this text is, it's all in the text. So I have to, subtlety is part of the tone of
Kind of baked in.
Yeah, it's baked into it, and she's also the visionary, and she's also sitting across from me. So it just felt like really cohesive, and I know she told me to pause, but I can't remember why I moved through it like that, except that I do know that character just made sense to me. Like, I just, I loved her, and I was rooting for her, and I loved how sweet and open and interested she was, and also scared and vulnerable. And
when a script or when a director says pause, but you don't just pause, and I think this is what I'm trying to figure out from actors. That's why I want to talk about this moment. I don't understand what you were doing there, and you don't even remember, so I think you have a brain problem. But I don't understand what you did to at least make me think She has a reason why she's pausing. Did you make a conscious decision of what that pause was all about for your...
Yeah, I'm gonna guess that I made a conscious decision. Well, probably because it's a timing thing. It's like,
Yes.
the pause is written into the script, but I know that in order for that to land, because it is a joke, that she's like, they have this important thing they need to tell her, and then, you know, she pauses to take a private moment in a not private space. Like, in order for it to really be funny, it's got to go on for a length of time that everyone else in the room becomes like a little bit uncomfortable. I feel really fortunate thus far that I've been able to do like a lot of different kinds of things. I'd say more often than not I play sort of funny women, but there's also been like, I've gotten to do like some more dramatic stuff, which has been nice. I think in general, I'd just like to have a little bit more leverage, like a little bit more choice in the things I do. Yeah, that would be
And what does that mean? Like, meaning you creating your own content, or meaning you get to choose from options?
like, I just like to be in a position where there's more opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of opportunity. Like, I audition my face off. I audition a lot. And sometimes I get jobs, and most of the time I don't. That's sort of how it works. And sometimes I get offered things, which is wonderful. But there does sometimes feel like there's this hurdle that I have to get over in order to be in a place where I just have more choice in the things that I can do. And I do say no, like saying no is a powerful thing, but sometimes that feels difficult given like just the reality of my reality at the moment. And that kind of also, that goes up and down, like it changes all the time. I mean, I have had a weird, you know, string of things over the past few years where I've been like replaced in things, which is really complicated. That's like I have a lot of coping mechanisms for not getting attached to things. Like, I think I have a really familiar relationship with failure and rejection. It's like an old friend. I know really well how to deal with that feeling. But dealing with like being attached to something and then like being replaced because the financier wanted somebody who was more famous or something like that. Like, that level of rejection, I don't know how to deal with.
Yeah.
I just don't have a system in place for how to deal with that kind of loss. That's like a newer problem, though. I mean, I think, and it's a kind of a problem that I just didn't, is just a reality of the business, particularly in independent film. It's very hard to get films financed.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's filmmakers' fault. That's just what the industry is like. You know, that just makes it difficult. But it was never the kind of a problem that I thought existed. Like, my feeling was always like, oh, I'm part of a community. Like, I have these collaborators. I have people that I want to work with, and they want to work with me. And like, so we get to do it. We get to work together. And that's not really how it works. I do create my own content. I mean, I try as much as I can to create opportunity for myself. And sometimes that's just about making things so that I can sustain the ability to audition all the time, which is exhausting and not cathartic. And so I know that if I have this other outlet, if I have this other thing that takes up my time and my energy and is like interesting and pushes me, and I get to have ownership and agency over it, then I will have the emotional space to put myself out there all the time in that way. It's almost like the acting, like the actual acting that I do is like, I'm gonna use another metaphor. It's like a little bunny, is like a little baby bunny in a basket, and I gotta protect that baby bunny. So I like put other things in there, and I make it really soft and cushy, and I protect it so that when I get to do that thing, it's free.
Yeah.
And you know, and I can be there for that, and it doesn't have to feel precious. It can just feel like my job. But I do a lot of other, like most of my life is like protecting the bunny by like trying not to like squeeze it to death, to like suffocate it until it dies. I don't want to kill it, you know? It can't be everything.
Yeah.
You've got to have other things. Because when you want an acting job, it's not that you want to act. I mean, there's all kinds of things that go along with that. You want to be challenged. You want to feel connected to other creative people. You want community. You need money. Like, there's so much around that, and I try really hard to be like, what aspect of that in this moment are you really looking for, and is there a way that you can give that to yourself in another capacity? And the answer is usually yes.
Yeah, that's really interesting. No, I think that that's great. Here's my analogy: you're filling like the well or something like that with other things. No, I don't like that analogy.
No, that was I get.
I see
what
mean.
you're
Like
saying.
like it has to be. There's a certain level it has to be filled. But like if you go in there with no water, like you want that to fill it.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it on your own, like it fills it up to a certain spot. So you're not going in there empty.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true in like relationships too.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to need somebody to light you up.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
like codependence.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to have that. I don't want to have that kind of a relationship with my work, because then, you just kill it.
That's big right there, because I think people can understand that. You have to love yourself.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and you have to feed your actor self.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let these people feed that. Let that be the gravy.
Yeah, no, totally. And that's really true.
That's
It took me a long time to learn that. Like, don't you just get tired of feeling like helpless, like a helpless victim who's like, when will I get a chance? When will I get a shot? And you don't even really know what you want. Like, it took me a long time to develop taste too, to get really opinionated about the kind of work that I like and I don't like. Like, I think I came in, I mean, maybe just as a human being, like, open and wanting, wanting to be needed or wanting to be seen. And that kind of desire to have a place and to feel like I belong kind of overrode being decisive about, it's okay to have standards.
Yeah.
It's okay to have taste. It's okay to say no. I mean, that's kind of the acting version of it, but I guess like just the human being version of that is like having self-worth, which I did not come out having. I know children, particularly children from New York, who seem to be imbued with this sense of self that's incredible. They just come into the room and they're like, blah, 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 and this is how I think about this, even if I have no idea what I'm talking about. And I think that's incredible. But I did not have that. I was very interested in who do I need to be in the room right now in order to survive and adapt and be accepted, and kind of a fractured idea of my identity. And it's taken me a long time to be like, I don't want to rely on other people to give me a sense of self. Like, I want to have that for myself. It's so liberating, especially with making movies and writing and all of that. It's so liberating to be like, I don't know what this is, but it's mine. It's my pile of poo. I made it, and it's full of me, and I didn't need anybody else to provide it. I did it for myself. I like totally get off on that. it's like such a wonderful feeling. Because as an actor, I mean, it's hard for me to define which parts of that are just aspects of me and like my innate neediness, and how much of that is just the system, which is that there are too many actors and not enough jobs, and it just leads to a feeling of like, somebody give me a chance, and I just hate that feeling.
Yes.
I'm so tired of it. It's a horrible space through which to look at your day.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in it at all.
Yeah.
It is really nice when somebody gives you a chance, but then I'm able to like really be decisive and enjoy it. And we are talking about codependence, Peter.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking
That's right.
about. I
That's
don't want to
right.
be in a codependent relationship with my
right.
work.
Yes.
That's the only sustainable way for me to be an actor.
I love that. Grace, Rex, thank you.
Peter Rinaldi, thank you. What a friggin' treat.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of IFP, the Independent Filmmaker Project.